Admit it, we're all guilty of stalking. No, not the creepy stalking where you nickname your crush Ray-Bans because he always wears them around campus, and when you go to parties, you follow him. No, not that kind of stalking. Facebook stalking. This phenomenon often results in people's social networks broadening. There was one particular time that I Facebook stalked the shit out of someone, but it was all for good reason. I applied to Syracuse University last summer in early July as a transfer sophomore. I found out in mid August that I had been accepted and was quickly placed into housing for that fall. I called the university village to see who my two roommates were. Hey, I just got placed into your housing, and I was wondering if I can get my roommates' names, I asked. Very excited, but still in shock that I had 2 weeks to go to a college I'd never even seen before. Sure, the voice on the other end of the phone replied. I assume you want their numbers too. I explained that I was perfectly content getting just their names because I had no interest in awkwardly calling them, but instead Facebook stalking them. I typed their names into Facebook search. One of their profiles was private, so I had to accept that the stalking would have to wait. My other future roommate, Abby, accepted my request shortly after. I immediately saw that we had one mutual friend in common, Josh. I frantically called Josh. Tell me about Abby. She is currently my one friend from SU on Facebook, and we're roommates. He tells me that they went to school together in Albany, and that they were just mutual friends, no real relationship. But I was able to learn where she was from at least. Now that Abby and I were officially friends, I clicked through her profile pictures, photos she's been tagged in, her interests in wall posts. I now understand why it's called stalking. Abby seemed very quiet. Many pictures of her were with her family at barbecues and trips to her lake house. This made me evaluate the impression I wanted to give off to Abby. I decided to omit the fact that I smoke cigarettes and I'm a firm believer in the work hard, party hard motto. Our meeting was definitely a little intimidating. We were both in a new environment with someone we had never met before. I decided to go to dinner with my mom that night before she headed back to New York City, and I was astonished when Abby told me she was staying in on the first night. I was even more astonished from what I saw when I came back from dinner. It was 9:30 and I walked into the door of our hall, surrounded by three neighbors. There was rat-a-tat pumping, one of my favorites, and I was curious as to see which neighbor was having a party with such great music. But as I got closer to my door, I realized that it was coming from my apartment. The door was unlocked and I walked straight into a gigantic Syracuse-colored themed beer pong table in our hallway. There were some solo cups scattered along the table and body shots going down on our kitchen island. There were a handful of guys drinking a few Keystones, college life, and a few other girls dancing on our kitchen island chairs. There was Abby, standing by the couch, taking pictures of the chaos, all while laughing hysterically. Abby and I ended up finishing a bottle of rum that night. She explained to me that she didn't have any pictures up on her Facebook partying because of her summer internship, but now that it's over, she could care less. If people are going to judge me now, she said, I better look fun. I took this upon myself to follow the adventures of my new roommate and I, but little did I know these adventures would take us to Miami on a short whim for the weekend in April, and then again to Montreal for some legal drinking. Turns out, Abby was a complete opposite of what she was perceived as through Facebook. Like becoming literate in the information age says, I was prone to judge Abby through her Facebook because allowing the medium to send us a message is what has been embedded in my mind since middle school. I decoded her wrong because she was far different from how she really was on Facebook in order to take precautions for her internship. People mentioned in the Huffington Post probably should have thought about following her steps. Abby and I joked that one day we'll have a reality show that follows us as we travel from college to college as we rank best party schools in the country. So how do we really know what someone is like in order to form a friendship with him or her? It's definitely not by Facebook, but by, surprise, surprise, physically meeting the person and exchanging words. I used online literacy completely the wrong way. I read about Abby and saw pictures of her and made complete judgments about them. I'm not proud about it, but what this experience taught me was that judging someone through the internet can be completely inaccurate, and in order to broaden our social networks, we must rely on good old meet and greets and not on the medium of the computer. It's a funny story for me to look back on because my impression formed of Abby was so wrong. After all, Abby and I are now married on Facebook. The computer not only changed the way we think about technology, but also revolutionized the way we think about others. Judging a person before you meet them was a relatively non-existent action before the internet. Sure, you could have judged a person from what you heard about them or from what you have seen them physically do, but the internet leaves us with the ability to judge people or decode them through their online identities. Sites like Facebook and MySpace have developed our generation into a generation of the reverse friend, that is, using the term friend as a verb. What does an online identity consist of? It's hard not to develop a persona online, particularly when photos are made so accessible to post and tag people in. There's even an interest column on Facebook that allows a person to be even more explicit about themselves. Why do we feel as though judging people from their Facebook pictures are okay? Are we using our digital literacy the right way? I argue that the answer to these questions can be answered simply by looking at the way we are taught in schools and from seeing the consequences of those that were hurt by their online identities. Self and Hallwischer's Becoming Literate in the Information Age helps validate the importance of acknowledging the broad difference of technological literacy between generations, as well as showing the substantial impact that education and computers have on one's ability to improve their digital literacy. The authors helped develop their thesis around Melissa Pearson and Brittany Morosky, who grew up a generation apart. The authors state that, today, if students cannot write to the screen, they may be incapable of functioning effectively as literate citizens in a growing number of social spheres. This affects a student's ability to participate and succeed in schooling, as well as in the outside world. Melissa faced these pressures due to large changes during her lifetime. Martin Luther King's assassination, for instance. She learned the capabilities of the computers along with a generation. Brittany grew up during a more advanced technological era, with pressures from school to take a message that is being delivered from the computer and do with it what she can. We are taught to let the medium, the computer, give us a certain message. In relation to social networking sites, this message is the ability to decode people through their Facebook pictures and interests. Our society and our educational system can be blamed for why we let this decoding occur. But another large factor are the consequences that people receive when they are decoded, correctively, through their Facebook. The Huffington Post, an online newspaper, newsblog, and video community, did a story about this topic in late July of this year. The article states that Facebook's mission is to make the world a more open and connected place, but the site's users can sometimes be a bit too open, posting pictures, opinions, videos, and jokes via the social networking site that empowers and employs the boot. What were these people doing that got them fired, and why do some of us make it so easy to be judged? One story involves a post by a woman on her status saying, "Oh my god, I hate my job. My boss is a total pervy, always making me do fucking stuff just to piss me off." What this woman forgot to realize was that her boss was indeed friends with her on Facebook. He responded back, telling her that she was fired and to not come into work tomorrow. Her boss also approaches her on how thoughtless she is, which is clear because she talked about her boss publicly, knowing that he would see it. Another story involves a woman from the UK who posted a picture of a courtroom on her Facebook and commented underneath that she needs to conduct a poll on which way to go, guilty or not guilty. She was dismissed for disclosing sensitive case information. These two examples are many that prove both the consequences people receive from revealing too much about themselves on their Facebook profiles and about how easy it is to often decode certain people. We are judged by our online presence in today's culture constantly, so I hope you didn't judge me when you heard about my digital literacy fuck up.